Paul Bäumer.
Ich möchte noch nicht loslegen.
Wir sind jetzt an der Westfront.
Wieder mehr als 40.000 Tote allein in den letzten Wochen.
Es ist vorbei. Im Namen der Menschlichkeit, ich bitte Sie um den Waffenstillstand.
Vous avez 72 heures pour accepter nos conditions.
Ich werde nicht kapitulieren.
Meine Mutter wollte nicht, dass ich in den Krieg ziehe. Ich wollte ihnen zeigen, dass ich das kann.
Ach, Paul. Ja, wenn wir nach Hause kommen. Ich vermisse meine Kameraden weg!
Schließen wir Frieden.
Es tut mir leid.
Ich habe Angst vor dem, was kommt.
Du musst jetzt tapfer sein. Für die, die es nicht geschafft haben.
Für uns alle.
You know, when I watched All Quiet on the Western Front, it took me a minute to get down to it because I didn't want to watch another war movie. For me, I'm somebody who doesn't really enjoy war movies like that. Like the last time I watched them and enjoyed it, I think it was when I was watching Rambo. And back then, I didn't even understand what I was watching. But having seen the spoils of war and having seen what war does to people, it's not something that I've ever fantasized about or like where I sit down and I'm like, wow, great, look at this. But the phenomenons that are World War I and World War II are something that will forever live in human history, where we are lucky to be able to reflect upon it and not have experienced war of that magnitude to this day. I mean, if you look at World War I think it ended in 1914, and then the next World War started in almost like 1936. That's like a 20-year gap between two world wars. So we are living in a renaissance, or we're living in a period of time whereby we've been particularly blessed to not have had crazy world wars until right now. I mean, we've seen wars and we've seen the devastations that they bring. This movie is a particular set of movies whereby if I was working on it as a director, even as a DP, I'll probably do it because this is an anti-war movie. This is not a movie that perpetuates war or tries to show, you know, how a lot of war movies are. There's all about this heroism and how these people come in and we celebrate in a sort of way like celebrate war. This movie shows you the human side of it. It shows you how humanity is affected and how the beauty of humanity comes out, how innocence is lost within the confines of war, within the darkness and evilness of war. It's a movie that still tries to find light moments in showcasing humanity, but also shows you the evil that comes with it. We are introduced to Paul and crew who are just young people who've been made to sign up to take up forces in World War I. And when you're watching it, you see these teenagers join in and you see them grow up to become men where they have to start killing other people. And they were not ready for that. They just thought they were going in, you know, beat bodies and show up and then go home. But that's not what happened. And the sad part is, a lot of times these wars are not even won on the battlefront. They're won in negotiations whereby truces are accepted or the end of wars are done by people who are not even engaged in the war. It's not like the president sets the war and then steps up and takes a gun and goes on the Western Front. They are literally in their houses just going, okay, I think my men are running out. It's time to call it a truce. But then we don't really count the amount of lives that are lost and how those men and women are parts of lives. You know, this is somebody's kids. This is somebody's father. This is somebody's mother. You know, the guys that we follow in, you know, you remember when Paul goes to steal the men he was with. I'm forgetting their names because I haven't watched in a long time. But when you reflect on those, you start to realize how human soldiers are. You know, they just wanted a good meal. You're stuck in Germany. Well, this was in Germany, but you're stuck near the French border and you're fighting. But you have a whole life. You enjoy the little things. It's the simple things that we take for granted. Imagine if you cannot eat chicken for a long time and then you're stuck in the trenches. You would go and steal some chicken from a French farmer. But for that farmer, that's like everything. You're stealing everything from them. And that's the thing that the movie depicts, and it shows the beauty of humanity, but the sadness of it when the farmer's son is to kill them. And that's something that he has to live with. But he only did it because this man possesses as a threat somebody who's there to take away food from their table. I love the way the film was shot. You know, there's this technique that they didn't use. You know, they didn't use rec focusing. They didn't use a lot of techniques within this movie in order to keep it authentic and not to distract the audience from what we were watching, because it's a movie that's just designed to be gruesome. I felt the Oscar that they won for the best editing, they deserved. When I was watching this thing, man, I was like, wow, I was enthralled in it, and it took me through a journey. The cinematography in the movie is just perfect. Everything within it is perfect. The pacing, the journey that you go through, and that desire of creating an anti-war without telling you this is anti-war is something that I tip my hat off to them. I think this is a movie that generations from now people will watch. You know, generations from now people will enjoy. People will sit down and be like, damn, this really happened. This is what happened in World War One. You know, and when you know the history, you know, the Kaiser abdicated and ran away, and that's how the war ended. It's really sad though, you know, and I feel like they depict that and they show you how young these people are who take up arms and they have to fight for these people whom in the final battle whereby the truce has been set up, this man just calls for one more attack, which was not necessary, which resulted in the death of Paul, the main character. But then that goes on to show you how much of a feeling of just that humanity. You could see his journey and how he comes in as a young man and ends up dead, and they don't even get his dog tag. So it's like he's you know, where I'm from, we have the tomb of the unknown soldier. He's the unknown soldier who lost his life at that time. And the kid whose life he saved was the one who ended up just taking the scarf next to him, which is meaningless. You know what I mean? From a story perspective, it's a well-written story. It's always going to be a remake of it. I feel like this and 1917 for me are some of the best war movies that I've watched. I'm not a fan of war movies, as I've stated in the beginning, but this, yeah, I would recommend you watching it.